For decades, if you wanted to watch premium television in Africa, there was only one name that mattered: DStv. They had a monopoly so hard like iron that millions of households had no choice but to pay whatever price MultiChoice shoveled down their throats. For sports, DStv had it locked down. For movies, international shows, you needed DStv or you were out of luck. But here's the thing about monopolies: they make you lazy, arrogant, and slow to adapt. And now DStv is paying the price. Because right now, as we speak, DStv is hemorrhaging subscribers at a terrifying rate, losing channels by the dozen and scrambling with desperate measures that are only making things worse. In fact, come January 1st, 2026, millions of DStv customers could wake up to find that up to 16 of their favorite channels have simply vanished. So how did the giant fall? And more importantly, can DStv survive what's coming next? This is the autopsy of the greatest corporate heist in African history. Let's rewind for a second. There was a time when DStv wasn't just a TV provider, it was the TV provider in South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and across the continent. If you wanted access to international sports, premium movies, or the latest American series, you had one option: pay MultiChoice. And actually, people did. At its peak in March 2023, DStv had 17.3 million active subscribers. That's 17.3 million households willingly handing over their money every month, even as prices kept climbing higher and higher. DStv had the Premier League, they had the Champions League, they had HBO, CNN, Discovery Channel, Cartoon Network, everything you could possibly want, all locked behind their paywall. For years, MultiChoice operated with the confidence of a company that believed they were too big to fail. They raised prices year after year, and subscribers grumbled but paid up anyway, because what else were they going to do? But then the world changed, and DStv didn't. It started quietly, because around 2016, Netflix arrived in Africa. At first, DStv didn't seem too worried. After all, Netflix didn't have sports. Netflix didn't have the latest episodes of international shows airing the same day as the US. Netflix was just movies and some series. But here's what DStv missed: Netflix was cheap, flexible, and didn't lock you into a contract. For the price of DStv's lowest package, you could get Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon Prime and YouTube Premium and Showmax, ironically, MultiChoice's own streaming service. Suddenly, customers started doing the math. One user on Twitter at that time said, "It's sad to see MTV Base go, because it's used to be enjoyable until they turn it into Amapiano channel." Another user from South Africa also said, "Can they reduce their prices? I haven't paid my DStv this month and I am asking myself if it is worth it." From that, the exodus began. The bleeding started and 1.2 million subscribers were gone in 1 year. By 2025, the damage was undeniable. DStv had lost 1.2 million subscribers in a single year, an 8% drop. But that wasn't even the worst part. Over 2 years, their active subscriber base had plummeted from 17.3 million to just 14.5 million. That's nearly 3 million customers who decided DStv wasn't worth it anymore. And the reasons were brutally simple. Customers in Africa complained. First, the cost of living in South Africa. When people had to choose between food and entertainment, DStv lost every time. DStv subscribers could lose up to 16 major channels because MultiChoice failed to renew contracts with content providers. Let that sink in. You're paying the same price or more, and you're about to lose channels from Warner Brothers, CNN International, TLC, Food Network, HGTV, Investigation Discovery, Cartoon Network, Travel Channel, and more. Even Paramount or AMC channels like BET Africa, MTV Base, CBS Justice, CBS Reality were on the disappearing list. Imagine you're a parent. Your kids love Cartoon Network. You love watching HGTV while cooking. Your partner follows CNN for news. Come January, all of that could just disappear. And DSTV's response? Silence, no reassurance, no plan. Just hope that maybe, possibly, they will figure it out before the deadline. But here's the thing, these negotiations aren't failing because of bad luck. They are failing because DSTV is broke. When a company starts panicking, you can tell by the moves they make. And DStv, they are in full panic mode. The first move they decided to take was to slash decoder prices by up to 57%. Suddenly, the decoders that used to cost a fortune were being practically given away. The goal? Get as many new subscribers as possible, even if it means losing money up front. That was the solution, and it didn't work. People don't want cheaper decoders, they want better value. DStv decided on a plan B, and it was introduce bill sharing. DStv copied Netflix's old playbook and started letting people split bills with friends and family, but again this backfired. Why? Because it just highlighted how expensive DStv was in the first place. They then went ahead with another plan, this time by forcing upgrades in some markets. This one's sneaky. In Ghana, instead of lowering prices, DStv actually raised them by 33 to 50%, then tried to spin it as more value by upgrading customers to higher packages. Simply means get channels you didn't ask for and hope you don't notice. In July 2025, French media giant Canal Plus completed a $3 billion takeover of MultiChoice. On paper, this looked like a rescue. Canal Plus is massive with deep pockets and experience in pay TV across Europe and Africa. Surely they could turn things around, right? But here's the problem. Canal Plus didn't buy MultiChoice to save DStv. They bought it for Showmax, MultiChoice's struggling streaming service, and Showmax its bleeding money. In the 2025 financial year, Showmax reported a staggering 4.9 billion rand trading loss. It missed subscriber growth targets. It couldn't compete with Netflix or Disney Plus. And now, Canal Plus has to figure out how to make it profitable while DStv continues to crumble. The uncomfortable truth? Canal Plus might let DStv die. Why? Because the future isn't satellite TV, it's streaming. And if DStv can't adapt fast enough, Canal Plus will pull the plug and focus entirely on Showmax. The real problem is that DStv forgot who they were. DStv didn't fail because they were outspent. They failed because they stopped listening. For years, customers complained about expensive packages filled with channels nobody watched, forced 12-month contracts with hefty penalties for canceling, poor customer service. And DStv's response: raise prices, add more channels that people didn't want, double down on the same broken model. Meanwhile, Netflix was asking, what do customers actually want? The answer was simple: affordable, flexible, on-demand content, no contracts, no decoder fees, no waiting for a technician to come install something. DStv had all the resources in the world to build that. They own Showmax, for crying out loud. But instead of going all in on streaming, they clung to the satellite TV model because that's where the profit margins were. And now those profits are evaporating. What happens next? So where does DStv go from here? DStv continues losing subscribers, cutting channels, and raising prices to cover costs. Eventually, it becomes a shell of its former self, a niche service for die-hard sports fans and older viewers who refuse to switch to streaming. Canal Plus forces a hard pivot. They shut down or massively scaled back DStv satellite operations and pour everything into Showmax. It's painful, but it's the only way to compete long term. The surprise comeback. DStv somehow pulls off a miracle. They renegotiate content deals, slash prices, improve service, and convince millions of former subscribers to come back. Honestly, this one seems the least likely, but the brutal truth about DStv's collapse, it was completely avoidable. They had the money, they had the content, they had the brand, they even had their own streaming service, but they got comfortable. They assumed their monopoly would last forever, and they ignored every warning sign until it was too late. It's the same story we've seen play out over and over. Blockbuster ignored Netflix, Nokia ignored smartphones, Kodak ignored digital cameras, and now DStv ignored streaming. The irony, DStv could have been Netflix. They had the head start, the infrastructure, the content deals. If they'd gone all in on Showmax 5 years ago, we'd be telling a very different story today. Instead, we're watching an empire crumble in real time. So as January 1st, 2026 approaches, millions of DStv subscribers are left wondering, will my channels disappear? Should I just cancel now and MultiChoice? They are wondering something much more terrifying. Is it already too late? The collapse of DStv isn't just a business story. It's a cautionary tale. Because in the end, it doesn't matter how dominant you are today. If you refuse to adapt, someone else will. And they'll leave you in the dust. Now that you know how DStv took ignorance as a smart move, do you think DStv has improved in 2026 or learned from their mistakes? Don't forget to subscribe and get notified if you want. Learn more about the dark side of industries like this. I'll see you in the next one.